talk about understanding decimals. So I'm going to write that at the top of my notes page. Understanding decimals. So that's our goal. We're going to really think about what does it mean when we use decimals. So I'm going to start by putting my decimal that I'm going to explore right in the middle. And I am going to talk about the number 3.675. So this is the number that I am working with, 3.675. Draw a box around it so I've got room to think. And then before I'm able to start breaking it up, I am going to put it on the place value line. Now the place value line is a lot like if I made a place value chart, which we've done before. There we go. And you guys have helped me with this where we've set up our place value chart, right? And we can draw the lines in between each number. Oops, there we go. And I've got my decimal point, so I can put it up there. And I know that this is the ones place, and this is the tenths, this is the hundredths, and this is the thousandths. Now we've put it on a place value chart. Today I'm going to show you an easier way to do that so that you can quickly see the different place values for your number. So this is something I like to do called the place value line. I'm going to zoom in. I want you to see what I'm doing. You're going to practice this more with your teacher in groups, but let's check it out. So what I do is I underline each digit and I think about which place this is. So I know that the decimal's right here, which makes this the ones place. So I can write ones, or I can write the number 1. And then the next place I have is if I took that 1 and I cut it up into 10 pieces, that's the tenths. And you know me, I always underline that to remind me it's a fraction. And I could also write it like a tenth is 0.1. That's how I write it, like a decimal. Or I could write it like a fraction, 1/10. And then let's move to the next place. This is the hundredths place. And I could write that 0.01. That's the decimal for a hundredth. Or I could write like a fraction, 1/100. And then the next place I've got here is the thousandths place. And I could again write it like a decimal, 0.001. There's my thousandths place because it's like 001. Or I could write 1/1000. So the first thing I'm going to do is think about all the different places for my number. And then there are 4 different ways to look at this decimal that we're going to think about this week. So I'm going to break this up. So I have room to write all of those. So thinking about this decimal, there's 4 ways we can write it. We can write it in word form. We can write it in model form, like we can draw it out. I can write it in mixed number form. And I can also write it in expanded form. So these are the 4 ways that we're going to look at decimals this week. To start, let's look at this number that we've got here. And today we're going to practice doing that in model form. So I've set up my notes page and I put it on my place value line, and now I'm ready to do it in model form. So what that really means is I'm going to look at each place value and I'm going to draw out what each of those digits means. So the first one is my 3 in the ones place. So I can do 3 ones. 1, 2, 3. That's 3. And then I'm just going to go place by place. There's my decimal point. That tells me that the next part is going to be in fractional values, so they're going to be smaller than 1. Now I'm right here in the tenths place, so I've got 6 tenths. You'll remember we drew our tenths like this. 4, 5, 6. So that is 6 tenths. And now I'm going to move to my next place. Now I've got 7 hundredths. Our hundredths we showed like little tiny squares because they're supposed to be 1/10 of these tenths up here. There's my 7 hundredths. And now I've got 5 thousandths. Now a thousandth would be just like a sliver of each of these hundredths. So I'm just going to draw it like a line. 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my 5 thousandths. So this is model form. I went place by place and I wrote I drew each digit as what it really represents. So my ones, I drew 3 ones. My 6 in the tenths place, I drew 6 tenths. My 7 in the hundredths, I drew 7 hundredths. And my 5 in the thousandths, I drew 5 thousandths. So that's our goal today. We are working towards putting our number on a place value line and then drawing it in model form.